This is my comms class project. Uh, I'm going to be reading a speech for my four friends here. You guys can introduce yourselves.
I am Aki. I am Wanda's friend.
Okay, thank you.
I am Ruby. I am Wanda's friend.
Okay,
I'm certified. I'm Wanda's friend.
all right,
I am Amar. I'm also Wanda's friend.
all right, thank you. So this is gonna be my audience for today. And my speech, the title is China's Regulation with Video Games and How It Affects the World. Okay. China has always carefully evaluated influence from other countries and even regulated their own software. This includes video games, how they are restricted, approved for public release, and edited to follow laws made to oversee. China has some of the strictest regulations on video games in the world. The Chinese government has been concerned about the negative effects on video games of children's health, particularly with regards to gaming addiction or Wang Yin, which has taken effect on 24 million young people as of 2015. China's rules on video games, however, are intended to protect children's health and prevent gaming addiction. These regulations have had a significant impact on the gaming industry in China and have raised some concerns about freedom, choice, and expression. This afternoon, we will be going in depth about these rules, how they've affected not only the people of China, but the geopolitics of video games in question. The rules are practically a junction of curfews, age restrictions, and censorships, all backed up and enforced by the Chinese government through various means. The restrictions also came with limitations on the amount that minors could spend on video games, ranging from $28 to $57 depending on the age of the child. In order to regulate things as these, logging onto Tencent and NetEase, the biggest gaming conglomerates in China, required full names and national identification numbers to check the age of the individual browsing. The Chinese government in 2019 opted to restrict video games for minors to 1.5 hours a day during the weekdays and 3 hours on the weekends. Between the hours of 9 a.m. to 10 p.m., children under the age of 18 are more restricted, with a maximum of 3 hours of online gaming per week, with extended caveats. Many of these rules were implemented only recently in response to the surge of young adults diagnosed with video game addiction in China. In an article presented by CNN in 2021, it stated, "Starting this week, minors will only be allowed an hour of playtime between 8 p.m. and 9 p.m. on Friday." This update is a harsher step from the statement from 2019, which previously had decided on 90 minutes on weekdays and 3 hours on weekends for children. China is still one of the highest regulated video games in the world, of course, with video games being treated as a technical product rather than an artistic one, to apply regulations easier. As well as profiting off expanding titles and shares from other countries, while China's economy is booming because of this, it brings light to the problem about excessive censorship and regulations. In the geopolitics of video games, the Swedish games industry has even gone as far to push back against China's treating games this way, saying successful video games export requires freedom of speech. These regulations have been for the most part targeted at younger audiences in China. As stated before, they focus on playtime and even how much a child can spend on the game in question. All this has been a great effort to stop children from having addictions. The initial policy and even its update as of 2021 have seen to it that much less income is coming from a younger audience. When dealing with the older addicts of video games, it hasn't taken the Chinese government long to come up with a solution. Seeing as China has already more online gamers, 368 million, than the United States have people, boot camps were implemented as a form of tough love. These places were rehab centers that parents would send their children to. The treatment given would include brain scans and even medication, and reportedly had a 75% sex rate, according to the program's director Tao Ren, a military doctor and researcher who built his career treating heroin addicts. These camps focus on having their parents, mostly boys, participate in extracurricular activities such as reading books published by the facility's director, playing games together, and cementing the importance of face-to-face interaction, among other values not associated with playing video games. Oh yeah. So now I get to show you guys some photos from these boot camps. I'll go ahead and stream. Yeah. So in this article I've used as one of my sources, these are the photos from the boot camp. And you can see it's mostly guys, but in some of the outside photos there are women in here too. They were treated as militia areas, basically. Alright. Some critics argue that China's strict regulation on video games limit freedom of expression and creativity in the industry. For example, the ban on imperial history in games has been criticized for limiting the ability of game developers to create historically accurate or engaging games. China's regulation has also had a significant impact on the gaming industry, particularly on smaller game developers who may not have the resources to comply with the government's requirements, and some game developers have been forced to shut down or move their operations to other countries due to the high cost of compliance. The strict regulations on video games have not only led to the development of a black market for video games in China, but have led to dangerous situations and harsh punishment. Gamers who are unable to access their games through legal channels may turn to these illegal sources, which can pose a risk to their personal information and computer security. The regulation of games in other countries, namely the United States, have fallen short of pretty much non-existent. In an article on Game Developer, writer Niels Clark goes on to elaborate how most government officials don't understand games whatsoever. They simply seek to censor harmful content and protect children. In a recently removed article by John Kim, it said that Japan and Korea share similar values to China in terms of game censorship, but they have been incredibly lenient over the past years. In a deleted article, China's video game regulation compared to the rest of the world by John Kim on Medium, it was shared that Japan and Korea still were the only countries that came close to the level of regulation that China has. The article also criticized China's handling of the situation, claiming that the Chinese government was also blowing the situation out of proportion and harming children. This article is no longer available to view online as of this year. The similarities of China's regulation lie in its close opinions with Korea and China, or Korea and Japan. No other countries come close, and seeing from Sweden's response to Chinese regulations, it's apparent that most of the world would like to keep it this way. I hope this speech has enlightened the audience about how China's strict regulations may have affected game industries as a whole, and not just the games in their homeland. Many involved in the gaming industry want to see an offload of China's regulations soon, and hopes to save the creative liberties involved in the production of video games worldwide. However, there hasn't been any reported updates of 2023. Thank you.